There are certain projects that arrive already on fire before a single review drops, before a single ticket gets scanned, before a single person has sat in a theater and formed an actual opinion. The Michael Jackson Biopic is one of those projects. And I don't mean fire in the good way. I mean fire in the way where the moment it was announced, every person on the internet immediately located their position and started defending it like the outcome personally affected them. Because here is the thing about Michael Jackson that no biopic, no documentary, no estate-approved anything will ever fully resolve. There is no version of this story that everyone agrees on. There never has been. And the people who made this film knew that when they sat down to write the first scene. They made their choices anyway. The internet has opinions. Loud ones. And now we are all here together sorting through the chaos, so let's get into it. First and most importantly, the allegations. The single most unavoidable conversation in any Michael Jackson project made after 2019, when Leaving Neverland reshaped how a significant portion of the world thought about his legacy. How does the film handle the allegations? It doesn't. At all. The movie focuses primarily on Michael's childhood and largely cuts off before the mid-1990s, which means the entire period that sits at the center of the most contested conversations about who he was simply does not appear on screen. What does appear is a sustained, deliberate portrait of his innocence. His overworked childhood, the pressure he was placed under from an extraordinarily young age, the perfection that was demanded of him before he was old enough to fully understand what was being demanded. And depending on where you stand, that is either exactly the story that needed to be told or the most convenient possible way to tell a story about a complicated man. Critics are calling it one-sided. Supporters are calling it necessary context. Both groups are right about what the film is doing. They just disagree about whether that is acceptable. This movie does not sit in the middle. It chooses a perspective and commits to it entirely, which in the current cultural climate is not a quiet choice. Leaving Neverland exists. The conversations it generated exist. The film not acknowledging them does not make them disappear. It just makes the absence loud. Then there is the question of who is not in this film, which in Hollywood is often just as telling as who is. Prince Jackson, Michael's son, had significant involvement in the production. His fingerprints are on this project in a meaningful way. But Janet Jackson stayed out of it. Paris Jackson kept her distance. And when key family members are visibly absent from a project this high profile and this emotionally loaded, the internet does what the internet always does. It interprets the silence. Now, to be genuinely fair, absence does not automatically mean disagreement. There are personal reasons, privacy considerations, timing factors that outsiders simply do not have access to. But in a film that is explicitly trying to shape how the world understands Michael Jackson's story, not showing up reads. It reads loudly. And a significant number of viewers are reading it as a signal that not everyone in the family aligns with the version of events being presented on screen. Joe Jackson is not treated kindly by this film, and that is generating its own substantial conversation. The portrayal is harsh, intense, and unflinching about the emotional cost of the environment Michael grew up in. The kind of upbringing that forged extraordinary talent through methods that left extraordinary damage. Some viewers are saying this is necessary and overdue, that you cannot understand the adult without understanding what the child endured, and that the pressure and perfectionism that defined Michael's public life did not emerge from nowhere. Others are saying the Joe Jackson portrayal functions as a narrative redirect. That by centering the story on Michael's difficult childhood, the film is engineering sympathy in a direction that softens later controversies by giving them an origin story that frames him as a victim first and foremost. Both of those readings are legitimate. And that is exactly the kind of deliberate filmmaking choice that the Michael Jackson estate, which was heavily involved in this production, would have thought about very carefully. Which brings us to the estate question, because it is the one that keeps surfacing in reviews, comment sections, and think pieces, regardless of how much anyone tries to focus purely on the film itself. The Michael Jackson estate had significant creative involvement in this production. And that involvement has people asking a very direct question. Was this a film, or was this legacy management dressed as a film? The two things are not mutually exclusive, which is part of what makes the question so difficult to dismiss. A movie can be genuinely well-made, emotionally resonant, and cinematically impressive, while simultaneously being constructed to protect and rehabilitate a specific version of a legacy. Those things can coexist. And given the estate's financial stake in how Michael Jackson is perceived culturally, the catalog, the licensing, the brand, the incentive to produce something that steers audiences away from the most damaging interpretations of his story is not subtle. It is obvious and enormous and openly acknowledged by the people asking the question. Now, Jaafar Jackson, who plays his uncle, is getting genuine praise that cuts across nearly every faction of this conversation. The resemblance is described as almost unsettling. The movement, the voice, the physical presence. People are saying it feels like watching Michael, and for a significant portion of the audience, that emotional experience overrides every other concern. Fans are reporting crying, laughing, being genuinely transported. Some people apparently passed out in theaters, which is either a testament to Jaafar's performance or a ventilation issue, but either way, the impact is clearly real. For those viewers, the film is exactly what they needed it to be. A tribute, a reclamation, a chance to sit with the music and the movement and the humanity of someone they loved before the world got so complicated around him. And that experience is valid and genuine and not something that deserves to be dismissed just because other people are watching the same film and seeing something very different. Because that is the exact tension driving this conversation everywhere you look. Two completely different experiences happening in the same theater at the same time. One audience watching a tribute to a legend, another watching a narrative they do not fully trust, constructed by people with a documented financial interest in its conclusions. Neither group is entirely wrong about what they are seeing. The film is both of those things simultaneously, which is what makes it so impossible to settle on a single verdict. When people say everyone involved is going to hell, which yes, people are saying, what they are actually reacting to is this. Someone took one of the most genuinely complicated legacies in entertainment history and chose a very specific version of it, knowing the world would push back, knowing the Leaving Neverland conversation would be impossible to separate from the viewing experience, and made that choice anyway with full estate backing and a carefully cast nephew in the lead role. That is a bold move. You can call it brave, or you can call it calculated. You can call it justice, or you can call it reputation management. The film itself does not help you decide. It was not designed to. It was designed to make you feel something, and it succeeds at that regardless of which side of this conversation you are on. Go watch it. Form your own opinion. Then come back here and drop it in the comments, because this is one of those conversations that genuinely has no clean resolution and needs as many perspectives in the room as possible. Like the video if this breakdown helped you understand why the internet is so loudly divided on this one, and subscribe so you are already here for whatever cultural chaos lands next. See you then.